Huge news coming out of the courts today. Tommy Robinson, who has been serving a lengthy prison sentence, he's been behind bars since October, mostly in solitary confinement in horrible conditions. He is going to be freed from prison this week. The judge has agreed to cut his sentence down a little bit and release him a couple of months early. Being reported here in Sky News today, Tommy Robinson is due to be released from prison in days after his sentence for his civil offence of contempt of court was reduced by 4 months at the High Court. And of course, we will go back and remind you of what that contempt of court sentence was all about. But first of all, here is a tweet that's gone out on Tommy Robinson's Twitter, posted by the admin, of course, because he is still in prison, with a picture of him hugging his family, saying, "We're happy to announce Tommy Robinson will be freed from prison within the week and coming home to his children. Thank you for all the continued support. It's kept him going in the darkest days." So let's just remind ourselves of what happened with Tommy Robinson. So he was given an 18-month sentence back in October after pleading guilty, admitting to breaching a High Court order that he was given in 2021 that banned him from repeating false allegations against a Syrian refugee who successfully sued him for libel. So this is all about this silence documentary. There's the screenshot there of it being deleted. You can see that 166 just to the side of the delete box there, and that is the 166 million views that documentary got. So as frustrated as I'm sure Tommy Robinson and his team are going to be for having to delete that documentary that Tommy Robinson very much felt should be out there, it's reached a heck of a lot of people. Most of the people who wanted to watch it and were going to watch it probably have watched it by now, so it's probably not the end of the world to him. I should think that it's having to be taken down. But one thing I just want to clarify with this is, this documentary, some of you may have seen it for the first time if you came to the rally that happened in July last year in Trafalgar Square. It was put on the big screen there, right? This is after Tommy Robinson had been given that 2021 High Court order that said you cannot play this documentary. Now, although Tommy was given that court order after pleading guilty to false allegations against a Syrian refugee, if you listen to the podcast where Tommy Robinson goes on Jordan Peterson's podcast and explains the whole situation with all of this, it's very clear Tommy Robinson does not believe, even if he pled guilty in court, to cut his losses and not lose everything and have all of his property and everything taken away from him, right? He very much believes that the journalism that he did there was good and it was accurate, and he was in trouble for things like, for example, using hidden cameras to interview people, i.e. interviewing them without their permission, and then that going in the documentary and whatnot. But Tommy Robinson, he got that order. He was told he could not. After ages and ages working on this documentary, he was told, you cannot show this, you cannot play this anywhere. It was premiered, I think, somewhere in America once, but then, he wasn't allowed to show it at all anywhere, despite having worked on it and put it all together. And then he eventually decided, you know what, I can't take this anymore. This poor boy who's, basically been living in hiding because of the fallout of this whole, Syrian refugee story, the kid who poured water on this Syrian refugee. Everyone thinks that, it was a racist attack as the media painted it to be. That poor kid, he was living with Tommy Robinson for some time. Tommy Robinson was essentially having to kind of shield him in some way. I'm just saying this is Tommy Robinson's recollection on that podcast. I'm just reiterating that if the exact details of this are not entirely truthful, I'm just repeating what he has said. He felt like for that boy, he really had to show the truth and show that it was not a racist attack, and he wanted to show that this was that there was a big cover-up in the media about this story with the Syrian refugee, and so he really wanted to release that documentary. And I think he knew when he released it, and I knew when I saw that playing on the screen in Trafalgar Square, I was like, he's going to get arrested for this. And then sure enough, straight after it was played, or in the days after it was played, he was arrested for it. He knew that he was breaching that court order by playing it, and that he was probably going to get in trouble for it. He probably knew that he was going to be going to prison, but nevertheless, he felt it was a piece of journalism that needed to go out there, and it has stayed on X, on Twitter, and it's been retweeted by Elon Musk and whatnot. There's been a heck of a lot, as I said, 166 million views. All whilst he's been in prison, it has been staying online despite him being thrown behind bars. So definitely, he's clearly been quite persistent, but he has now agreed to take it down. As I've shown you, there's the post being deleted. If you look on his Twitter account, it is no longer there. Some other other Twitter accounts are posting it who have clearly downloaded it before it was taken down. But that is the situation. Now let's just be clear about the length of the sentence. So he was given an 18-month sentence, a 14-month punitive element, and a 4-month coercive element. Now you're maybe confused because it's not been 18 months since October when he was given his sentence, but as you will probably know, it's automatically 50% of what they said it was going to be, unless you were so misbehaved in prison that they decide not to let you out at the automatic 50% mark. So 14-month punitive element, he has done the automatic 50%, 7 months of that. Okay, so that takes you from October to May, where we are now. Now that 4-month coercive element, which would automatically be 2 months, would mean that he would be expected to be in prison until late July. I think 26th of July is the day that he was supposed to be released, but that is now been knocked off. And we'll take a look in a minute at exactly what the judge has said. So the judge, Mr. Justice Johnson, told Robinson he could have the latter taken off his sentence if he were to purge his contempt of court by taking steps to comply with the injunction, i.e. deleting the documentary off his X account and anywhere else on social media where it may be posted. I don't know if it was on Instagram or anywhere else like this. Let's look in more detail at what the judge says. So the judge said there was an absence of contrition or remorse from Robinson. He had shown a change in attitude since he was sentenced. Tommy Robinson has given an assurance that he will comply with the injunction in the future, that he has no intention of breaching it again, and that he is aware of the consequences of what would happen if he breached the injunction again, i.e. if he puts that documentary back up after he's released from prison, he will be going back to prison. So he needs to play ball if he wants to stay out of prison and keep this documentary off social media. But I would expect he's probably happy with the fact that it has reached 166 million people on X. So he very much got that message out there that originally he felt, he'd put all this work into this documentary and couldn't show it to anyone. He did what he needed to do to show the world what he believes is the truth about that story surrounding the Syrian refugee who had water thrown over him. The judge said, I consider it appropriate to grant the application, and the practical effect, subject to confirmation by the prison authorities, is that defendant will be released once he has completed the punitive element, which I understand will be within the next week. Now, it was looking... this is good news for Tommy Robinson, but it was starting to look a little bit frustrating. Obviously, we've had stuff going on with Lucy Connolly that is very frustrating for free speech. We've just found out today that her appeal to try and have her prison sentence reduced has been dismissed. She's going to be staying behind bars, and various other challenges by Tommy Robinson to try and get out of solitary confinement and reduce the sentence have failed. So it seemed as though the judges very much were against what you might call free speech cases, not letting people out early, even though I think in the country there is this general feeling that there are a lot of people behind bars for what they have said online who really shouldn't be there. So we had back in March, Tommy Robinson brought a legal challenge against the Ministry of Justice about his solitary confinement, and that failed. He then had another legal challenge to his sentence in April, but the three senior judges said he could still reduce the period he has to spend in custody by taking the steps identified, yada yada. But anyway, back in April, he wasn't successful with the legal challenge that he did there. And bear in mind, that wasn't him going it all alone. That was Elon Musk funding apparently top lawyers for him. Remember, Elon Musk stepped in and offered to help him with the legal fees to make sure he had the best representation he could, but he still wasn't able to get himself out of solitary confinement and reduce his sentence back then. But he seems to have now finally been able to pull something out of the bag to reduce his sentence slightly. So he'll have overall ended up in there for 7 months rather than 9 months. But anyway, that is the latest on Tommy Robinson. It's not all a win for free speech today because, as I said, we've had the really devastating news that Lucy Connolly's appeal has been dismissed, but Tommy Robinson will be getting out of prison early, supposedly sometime this week. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'm Chloe Dobbs. Subscribe for a reason for more updates.